not an official meeting, so you can just indicate that there was not a quorum, and if you want to just take a very limited outline notes of what was discussed or presented to you, so that it's not a meeting, it's just not a quorum, so.
We're going to open up. They can hear? Everybody can hear?
Yeah,
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We're going to get started. I'm your Pike Township trustee, Annette Johnson. I see a lot of new faces in the audience, and hopefully you're one of the residents in Pike Township. And thanks for being here as well. We had on the agenda, which some of you have in front of you, to really conduct board business. As the trustee and the overseer of the township, I'm just a little disappointed that our other board members are not here. With that being said, we're not able to conduct business because we do not have a quorum. We'll get back to the community and try to figure what we can do and what's next. But we do want to at least have some type of discussion of business that we have to attend to. Again, it would be an unofficial meeting, but our attorney would like to address individuals in the audience, and then the chief wanted to go over some of the components of tonight's budget presentation. Again, this meeting was to be a budget presentation, just to present the budget. I've been a trustee. This is my 7th year. We've always done it like this. Nothing has ever changed. And I can say that because I served on the board for 14 years. I don't want to say I know everything, but I think if you add 14 plus 7, I think I know what I'm doing, seriously. So I'm very disappointed with our newer board members that just got elected because they took an oath of office to serve to the best of their ability. And for whatever reason, they are refusing to do that. And so again, as the trustee, we have consecutive months where we give out the information to the public. It starts in August, September, and October. Those are very, very important, crucial months. We're excited about this new layout for individuals that have been to our meetings for the past 7 years. This is all new because of the legislative law that went into effect on July the 1st. We have to make sure our meetings are live streamed. And so we have been working very hard to present this to our board members tonight. We still got some things to work on, but we wanted to present that to them tonight. So everything that we're saying is live. After we get done with our meetings, we make sure that we upload it to the website so it's made available for individuals that may not have been able to catch the meeting and so forth. So with that being said, I just wanted to share, again, it's a little disappointing to have to deal with the township business in this manner, but it needs to be said because, again, these are elected individuals that have a job to do, and they're refusing to do what they need to do so that we, as a township, can be successful. Because there are documents, there are things that need to be voted on. It's beyond me and the chief. It goes downtown. And so if we're not abiding by what the state requires for us, then it puts us in a bind. And I don't want to be a trustee that's out in the community looking like that when I work very hard to make sure that Pike Township is one of the best townships out of the 9 townships. So with that being said, I will have the attorney address you and then the chief from there.
thank you, trustee. Thank you, board. Congratulations on your new configuration and the improvements to the space. On your agenda for this evening, some certain items are for a possible vote. We lack a quorum, so you will not be able to vote on those items. Item 1, your approval of minutes. You cannot accept the minutes from the last meeting. We'll roll those over to the next. We're going to present the possible purchase resolution for expansion of Station 63. You do not have a quorum to address that business. Chief can talk about that a little bit, just so you're informed and the public can hear about it. On the other items, these were not items for vote. The budget is technically not even introduced until the September session. The trustee in the department and Mrs. Marsh, our CPA, was going to get this to you a month in advance of the advance that you're supposed to get, so you're going to have the budget 2 months in advance. We'll go ahead and give that to you and talk to the two of you tonight about that. And then that way the folks that came out and took their evening to be with you can hear about those things. We'll be very limited on the ability to take comment because we're not having a meeting. This is just an informal presentation to those that attended. We will not be having any extensive minutes because there's no formal business to be conducting tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we can't make any motions, can't have any seconds, can't have any action because we don't have enough of the board here. Want to make sure, and I know Mrs. Marsh will talk about this, but just be very emphatic when we talk about the capital improvement overview. That's a preview of what's a new legislation for the capital improvement plan. I'll say this until the moment we get it passed. This is new business that the state requires the capital improvement plan to be considered and approved by the board before September 30th. We wanted to introduce that to you tonight, so we're well in advance of that cutoff because township units that do not approve a capital improvement plan put their total funding at risk. There will be some people in the state, I think, that will find out to their regret that this requirement has been placed in the law if they have not kept up with this. So we wanted to put this in front of you as rapidly as possible. The DLGF is still adjusting their forms, but we wanted to talk to the whole board about that tonight, but we will talk to the two of you tonight to make sure that we cannot miss this absolutely critical deadline. This is essential that the board take this business up at its next available opportunity and hopefully pass what's presented. Happy to answer your questions. Thank you for being here tonight. I'll let you move on from session.
Okay, so the first thing that we were gonna go over is the financials, which are for the first 6 months that you have. This is the financials.
He's good.
There we go. So this is the financials for the first 6 months, and you'll see at the board, at the top, there's 50%. So we're halfway through the budget on this. And in each area, overall, we're great in every area. You'll see in the general government, in our personal services, we're at 32%, and our supplies are at 32%, and services and charges are 25%, and our capital outlays are 43%. So overall, in the township fund, we're at 34%. In the same way with the small claims court and our personal services, which is basically your people that you pay, their benefits and all of those things, is 50%. We're only at 19% in supplies, and then our services are only at 14%, and we've not spent anything on our capital improvement. So again, we're only at 43%. And those two make up the general government as a total for a fund, and overall, we're at 39% on all of that. And then if you flip to page 2, it's the welfare administration. In that area, we're doing great as well. We're in the personal services, we're at 23%. Our supplies are at 6%. We've not spent anything on our services, and our capital outlays are at 0. So we're only at 22% overall in that. We have in the other direct relief, core relief, which is where we provide the services to the citizens in Pike Township. And we're in hospitals and medical and burial, we're at 11%. And where that is being used is in burials and funerals, and that's what we've used so far, is just for that area. In the other direct relief, we're at 44%, and basically that's made up of food, clothing, shelter, utilities, and transportation and moving. The biggest areas that we're, using that this year is in shelter, and we are at 50% overall in shelter, and we're seeing this across all townships, our IM, that do other ones, and they're really high, as well as the utility is at 49%. So we're spending right on target, where normally we don't spend all of that. So, but because of the whole thing with AES, after 18 months came out and caught up everything, so people are getting cut off notices, and so that's the reason for the big need, for the utility services. So for the most part, you know, that's where we are, but we're okay overall, but we are spending pretty much to the budget of what we have this year because of that reason. And then in the last page, which is the fire, overall, we're fine at that. I mean, our personal services, we're at 45%, supplies at 44%, our services at 45%, and then our capital outlays are at 3%. So we're at 35% overall, but we're right pretty much on target for where we should be halfway through the year. And then the cumulative, we're only at 14%. So again, overall, we're fine in all of those areas. If you have any questions or want to know a little more details of any of those categories, every time you get the financials, you get the report that's the annual financial report, which again outlays every one of those categories by fund, on who we've paid and what we've paid, how much we've received in, because the front page sort of goes in what we've received in, what we've spent, and where our ending balances are, and then it details all the people that we've paid. So if you have any questions, you're looking through it later, you can always, you know, send an email to the trustee who'll send it to me, and then I can answer any of those questions for you on that. The big thing I'll go into next is the, as Jeff had alluded to, is the capital improvement plan. So that was passed in this last session in HB 1461, that the townships must approve a capital improvement plan by September 30th. And that's imperative that it's done because it puts your funding at risk, and they're basically saying that the money that you receive for levy is, you will not get. So, I mean, that's a lot of funding that the township will not receive, or the fire department, who also helps fund some of the township and the assistance, will not receive in order for us to be able to do our jobs. So it's imperative that it's done. So what we have to do is a 3-year plan. So in the past, I mean, we've had a capital improvement plan because in 2019 that was required, but it didn't have to be adopted every year. But now it has to be adopted. It has to be a 3-year plan of basically all of the things that we want to do improvements for. So whether it's buildings, it's an infrastructure, if it's capital, whatever it might be, we have to put that all in a plan. Because if whatever money we don't encumber or have in a plan, the unappropriated accounts, meaning our general fund and our rainy day fund, or be at risk of potentially having to go into this new fund that's the roads and infrastructure. So it's transportation and infrastructure, and it's 30% of that. So, which we're not gonna have a problem being able to do that, and getting it encumbered, but we have to make sure we have this plan in place. So next month, the board will need to approve to open this fund, which is called Fund 50, and it's called the Transportation and Infrastructure, and that's to be used for any excess funds. If there were excess funds that had to be put in there, which goes in at the end of 26, those were not be reverted back if we needed another year. They're in there for forever, so to speak. And then basically Pike Township will have to get an MOU with the county on how those will be used in the Pike Township area for like roads and things like that. So we definitely want to make sure we have that. So we have to, next month, we have to have a public hearing, which we'll be advertising for. And then we will have to have, so we'll have the public hearing at the next meeting, and then after we close that, we'll open the meeting, and then we have to pass the capital improvement plan. in order to do this. I really can't say if you have any questions, because we can't really go over that, but that's what it is. Jeff, I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about that?
No, Beth, you covered really well. Just because we will create this fund, you only populate it if you have monies that would not be covered by the CIP, the capital improvement plan. But we will make, the fund, and the fund will be a budget column, and it'll sit there, and maybe someday, Chief doesn't need any new roofs or any new equipment. I kind of doubt that. But there might be some money that would go into it. Only then would you collaborate with the county or city, depending on a project, if it comes up. You are not required to put money in it, though, unless it is not covered by the fund. So all we're doing is establishing the fund. You have to do the plan adoption. We have to do that next month. You have to beat September 30th. There has to be a 10-day published notice. So our consistency in making sure that a quorum is available, we can't hit the clutch and move the shifter all over the month of September because there is a published notice requirement that has to go out 10
Yes.
days in advance of
So,
this.
so the meeting is September 16th next month. So we'll be having the public hearing for the budget at that time, and we will also have another public hearing for this capital improvement plan, of which both of those, after they're published, you cannot alter those dates. And in the same way with the September 21st, which will be the budget approval, October 21st, I'm sorry. October 21st will be the budget approval. Those cannot change, so we have to do the meetings on those days, and it's imperative.
That's to me.
And Chief, can I say something real quick?
You certainly can, trustee.
So, the chief just presented this nice binder portfolio for the board members. We have never been this fancy, but we're trying to do it. We know there are new board members. Think about it. Some people had been on the board for 10, 15 years. They kind of knew the lay of the land. We know that you guys are new, so we want to make sure that we're giving you everything you need in this binder. And the chief, we'll go over it with you, but we put everything in there so that you can be successful. And again, all the information that Beth has, gotten from downtown, because she's the accountant, we put all that in there. And you have different areas. So I just want you to know, we have really been spinning our wheels for the last 2 months, working hard to make sure that you guys had something that you can take home and be proud of, but also use this as a learning tool as well. Thank you.
So in front of you, you have the preliminary budget for 2026. And I'm making the presentation, but it's the budget for the entire township, not just related to the fire department. Within there, under that budget overview tab, you'll find the kind of an executive summary. Just kind of lays out, a little bit about our budget process, what we tried to do as we maintain this budget. Kind of for a summary, the total budget expenditures for 2026 are $53,580,129, of which we have the expectation that $10,880,000 of that is going to come from our fund balances. That is, those are planned expenditures from our fund balances. Because we have revenues for 2026 that we're projecting at $44,991,798. So when you kind of do the math there, you'll find that we have that our expenditures are about $2.3 million less than what our total revenue is that we expect to use revenues for minus those fund balance expenditures. Do know that we, as we were preparing this budget, We were also in the middle of contract negotiations with Local 416, the International Association of Firefighters, that their contract is up December 31st, 2025. So we were in contract negotiations with them at the time that this was being done. And this budget does reflect all of the proposed enhancements to that contract that we expect to make in 2026 and 2027. Do know that this is a balanced budget between our expenses, our revenues, and what we have. We know that we're going to spend out of fund balances. The next section there for you speaks a little bit about the different funds that we have. We use fund accounting, so it's an accounting system where we consider kind of each one of those funds a separate entity. We have some funds that are established and they're governed by statute, and those are our restricted funds. Beth mentioned earlier about some of our restricted funds versus our unrestricted funds. Some of those other funds are governed by us, and those are our unrestricted funds that Pike Township gets to determine how those are spent. The funds that we have listed here in the budget, we have other funds in the budget that we spend, that we utilize, I shouldn't say spend out of, but these are the funds that we do budget appropriations for. Okay. First of those, just some information about rainy day fund. That was a fund that we established in 2001, and it just kind of serves as a financial safety net for the township. That is one of those unrestricted funds. The Township General Fund is the primary operating fund for the township. You'll see expenses for small claims court. You'll see expenses for the general operating of the township out of the general fund. Our general fund is not supported by a property tax levy, and that general fund is also one of our unrestricted funds. The Township Assistance Fund is that fund that we use to provide financial assistance to individuals and families in need. Again, that's a fund that in Pike Township is not supported by a property tax levy, and that is one of those restricted funds. You can only use the dollars in those funds for specific purposes as set by the statute. We're going to talk about the Township Fire and EMS Fund. Those are tax revenues and other receipts that are directly related to the Pike Township Fire Department. That is, again, a restricted fund, and that is also one of those funds that's part of our capital improvement fund as well, part of our capital improvement plans. The Township Cumulative Fire Fund is another one that we receive tax revenue for, and other receipts that are directly related to the capital purchases of the fire department. That again is one of those restricted funds. And then the last one, which Beth alluded to, is the Township Roads and Infrastructure Fund. That's a fund that hasn't been established yet, but statute requires us to establish it. So I've just listed it in here for you, just so to know that it's there and what it's there to be used for. At the bottom of page 8, you'll find what we estimate the fund balances to be, or our cash balances at the end of December of this year. And those cash balances are listed there for each of those funds. And we get those numbers by looking at what we know the cash balance was on June 30th of this year. We estimate what our additional revenues that we are going to receive for those funds are, and we look at the difference between, as Beth alluded to, the amounts of where we are with a budget. We look at what we're expected to spend yet this year, and we look at whatever our budget number is versus what we've spent so far to date, and that's how we arrive at what our additional expenditures are. Although some of those may or may not be spent, but that's the easiest way for us to try to estimate what those fund balances are going to be at the end of the year. And then then under the next tab is our revenues tab. Within those revenues, we talk about a few different things. The first of those being property taxes. That's our largest source of revenue in Pike Township. Those are all determined. There's a couple of different things, but what we like to look at is the difference between commercial versus residential within the township. In 2025, 35% of our assessed value was related to commercial property. 25% of it was related to other residential property, which is typically apartment complexes. And then 40% of it was related to homesteads. That's our residential, those are our residential properties. So it's important for us to maintain a good mix of commercial versus residential property in order for us to enjoy the tax revenue that we enjoy. On page 11, the top of page 11 talks a little bit about property tax caps. It's important for you to know that there are property tax caps in place. They're also referred to as circuit breakers. The state of Indiana enacted those in 2008. They continue to, circuit breakers are 1% for homestead properties, 2% for other residential properties, and 3% for commercial properties. And what the property tax cap is, it says that the individual won't pay more than those percentages based off their assessed value for property taxes. So you typically receive, you'll see as the schools speak on their budget, they're very heavy into property tax caps. Because they have a larger tax, and it has a much more substantial impact on them. Although it certainly affects us as well. You can see in 2025, our circuit breakers were $2.7 million of property taxes that we did not, that otherwise we would have received, but we did not receive because of property tax caps. And then we at the bottom of page 11, we talk about the different property tax rates that we have. And as I mentioned, we only receive property taxes for the township fire and EMS and the township cumulative fire fund. Those are the only things that we receive property taxes for. And those rates were, in 2025, were 0.4395 for our fire rate and 0.0333 for our cumulative fund rate. And those have remained pretty consistent, you can see, over the last 5 years for us. The next item that on page 12 talks about income taxes. Income taxes are our second largest source of revenue that we have. The biggest of those being local income taxes. And so there are a number of local income taxes that make up what we call LIT in Marion County. The first of those is property tax relief. That's something that we don't actually see. It becomes as a credit on the individuals, on the property tax revenue that we receive, so we don't actually get a payment for property tax relief. Marion County also has a public safety tax at 0.5%. Those are used for police, fire, including pensions, emergency services. However, Pike Township does not receive a share of that revenue from the city of Indianapolis or from Marion County. So we do not share in that public safety local income tax. There also is local income tax for what they call certified shares. And we do receive a portion of that local income tax. And then there's also a levy freeze tax, which again, we receive a portion of that revenue that is collected by the county for the levy freeze tax. Lastly, there's a special purpose rate at 0.25%. That's for Indigo capital improvements and expansions. Pike Township does not share in a portion of that revenue that is collected. We do not see that. So LIT is collected by the state of Indiana, and then it's distributed. It is distributed by the Marion County Treasurer, and so we receive LIT income on a monthly basis. Our property tax revenue, we receive twice a year, in June and December. So, whereas that's the largest source of our revenue, we only receive it twice a year. And then there's also a few local taxes that the state of Indiana also collects. Those are for vehicle, aircraft, boat, excise taxes, financial institutions taxes, and commercial vehicle excise taxes. We share in a portion of those. Those are collected by the state and then distributed to us as is necessary. We also receive fees for service. Those fees for service that we receive are related to the fire department and specifically to our ambulance transports. So those, because we operate a transporting ambulance service, we bill for those services. So we receive fees for service for that, based off our basic life support or advanced life support services that we're providing. And then there's some information in there for you on the top of page 14. It just kind of shows, gives you a little bit of information about the number of transports that we bill on a regular, on an annual basis, what our collection percentage is, and the amount of days that we normally see of billing cycles that are actually setting in accounts receivable for us. And again, you'll see that those are pretty standard for us across the last 5 years. So our transport income maintains and stays fairly stable for us. The last revenue item that's listed there for you is an investment income. So we receive, as acting as a good financial steward of the money that we're entrusted with. We're able to invest that money and on a daily basis, and we're able to receive investment income for that. So we do that, and we have going through high quality debt securities issued by the United States government is what we invest those in. And so that's where you will see investment income that we have that we've budgeted to receive. And then at the top of page 15, you'll see what our revenue projections are for 2026. We've estimated that we will receive $28 million, just a little over $28 million in property taxes in 2026. Just a little over about $10.5 million in local income taxes. $970,000 in other taxes, the other states' other taxes, the financial institutions, the vehicle excise tax. We're estimating $3.8 million in fees for service. That again, that's related to our ambulance transport income, and investment income of about $1.7 million for the year of 2026. And then there's just some graph information down there for you as well to put some of that into a visual perspective for you. The next tab takes you to the appropriations and expenditures. Real quickly, the appropriation is the difference between an appropriation and expenditure. An appropriation is the legal authorization to spend. That's what you do when you create the budget. You provide the legal authorization to spend that money. The expenditure is the actual expending of that money, what you buy with it. That's when you have the expense. That's the expenditure. The State Board of Accounts tells us that there's 4 distinct categories. Beth alludes to those when she does her monthly report, when she talks about personal services, our 100 series. That's things like salaries and wages, other personal services, employee benefits, group health insurance, other retirement benefits, employment taxes, pension contributions. All those things are what you'll see in personal services. The supplies, the 200 series, talks about things like office supplies, operating supplies, repairs and maintenance supplies, could be automotive supplies, emergency REMS supplies, uniforms, office supplies, building equipment repairs, other similar items to that. The 300 series, or the services and charges, are then subdivided into professional services, communications, transportation, printing and advertising. Insurance is in this area. Utilities expenses for the various township buildings. Again, repairs and maintenance items, rentals, other services and charges like for us, EMS billing, travel, printing, health and wellness, those types of things are all included in that services and charges line. And then we have capital outlays. That's the 400 series. That's when we're buying land, buildings, improvements, vehicles, those types of things are all going to be in our 400 series or our capital outlays. And then the last item, as we talk about the different appropriations and expenditure categories, is township assistance. It's kind of its own separate thing that sets out there. Township assistance is divided in by emergency shelter, housing, utilities, food, clothing, household supplies, transportation, healthcare, funerals, burials, cremations, other direct relief. And those are all things that are done through the assistance for the township. When applicants come in, request assistance, there's obviously a process that goes, that the trustee and her personnel go through in order to make those determinations. So that speaks all about the different sections, I guess, of appropriations and expenditures. On page 19, you'll see the budgeted appropriations by each fund. So you'll see that in Township General, we have budgeted to spend just over $2.6 million. And then you can see down through there that that's broken out between general government, which is the trustee's office, and small claims court, because those are the two departments that are in Township General. And you can see all of the expenses for personal services, supplies, services and charges, and the capital outlays for each of those areas that make up that $2.6 million in that budget. And then right below that, kind of in the middle of the page, you'll see that same breakout for township assistance. And the township assistance is budgeted at $1,517,400. And again, you can see the breakout between welfare administration, which is the individuals that that we have to pay, and the expenses that we have in order to administer the assistance, and then the direct assistance is also broken out there. And you will see that we have a substantial increase in other direct poor relief. And that's, as Beth spoke earlier, we're seeing that across the board. I would say we're even right now as of June where we spent. But when we look at what we've spent in the month of July, it is substantially greater than what we've been spending on a monthly basis. So we've made some substantial increases in our relief, specifically with utilities and with shelter. So you'll see those budget categories have doubled for those line items. The next thing below that you'll see is fire and EMS. That fire and EMS has a budget of $48,570,134. And again, you can see that the biggest majority of our budget comes from personal services. The firefighters that man the fire stations, the ambulance personnel that man the ambulances that respond to the emergencies. And then supplies, services, and capital outlays as well. You'll see there's a capital outlays. We've got a budget of $10.8 million. $10 million of that amount relates to what our hope to be of Station 63's reconstruction. So that's what that number is there. And then the last item on there you'll see is cumulative fire. That has a budget amount of $940,000. That number fluctuates greatly from year to year. You'll see the year before that, in 2025, that budget line item is $3.7 million. That has such a substantial fluctuation because of the cost of apparatus. That's where that comes from. And those apparatus, we've got 2 apparatus that are being delivered here still this year. Those themselves will be well over $3 million. So in 2026, we have no new apparatus other than an ambulance, and I think a new ambulance, and I think maybe a refurb ambulance in that 2026 budget, but no new fire apparatus in 2026. So that's a substantial decrease over what it has been maybe in the past. And lastly, you'll see at the bottom of that page, roads and infrastructure. We don't have anything budgeted to be spent in roads and infrastructure in 2026. We don't have any money in that fund for 2026. And then after the next page in there are the fund summaries. So really, it just kind of goes back to that, gives you that same information for each one of those funds. It shows you what our, I'm going to skip to page 22. It talks about, it shows for the general fund. It starts with our beginning fund balance, what we expect to have in cash in the general fund. And then it shows you what the revenues that we expect to receive related to the general fund. Our expenditures, which again are the same budget appropriations that we just spoke about. And then in this case, the fund transfer is related to where some of our local income tax revenue originally gets deposited and then gets transferred out to make up some of that difference. So what you'll see down there is you'll see the beginning fund balance, revenues, expenses for the year, and then what we expect to have in cash for that fund at the end of the year. And that's the same, we've got that for the general fund, you'll see that for the assistance fund, fire and EMS, and the cumulative fire fund. And that takes us to the end. I know I ran through it really quickly. Yes, Beth?
So I just wanted to let everyone know, because like you said, we just have gone over very quickly. I am with the trustee, I'm willing to meet with 2 board members at a time because we can't have a quorum when we have a meeting outside of a meeting. But to go over this, first of all, I know this is all very new to you, but I have a lot of places that I work with that I do this with every year. So happy to do that, to go over any questions, to clear anything up. So again, this is one of the things we presented ahead of time, so we have plenty of time to be able to do this before the next board meeting. We have the public hearing and before the budget then has to be approved in October. So I want to let everyone know that, that, you know, I'm here to help, you know, again, just ask the trustee and we'll get that set up to meet with you.
Notice, like I said, we're here to make an introduction for the preliminary budget. I'll be glad to answer a question if you have a specific question. I'll try to answer it for you while we're here.
And, yeah, and then also, like you said, it's preliminary, because we presented this ahead of time, there probably will be some changes that will happen. Again, we will let you know what those changes are at the next meeting, so you're well aware of what those are.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's about all that we can do tonight. Oh,
Can I have a question for the chief?
we'll try, but members just
Well,
said,
no, it's about an engine. I know y'all had an engine that was out being repaired. Is that gonna be on this year's budget or next year's? I think one thing got damaged that was out being repaired coming back.
We had one coming back. Everything's back. Everything that, those are this year's 2025 expenses.
Okay.
Yes?
well, the good thing is, next month is the public hearing, so anyone from the public can ask questions. We just didn't want to not do anything tonight, and so we just thought it was very important to at least present the budget. You guys have it for a month or so, and to kind of go over some things, and like Beth said, we're more than eager to help you along this, because like Attorney Bellamy said, we have to pass this. We cannot be a township that does not do this, because we'll be in trouble. And we don't want that type of scrutiny on our township. I don't know any township that have been in, I would say, the situation that I'm in. And I'm on the board of the Indiana Township Association, and that's for the state of Indiana. And again, you know, I know what's going on, and I talk with other trustees and townships every day. We meet. The good thing is, this is all new to me as well, because Senate Bill 1 passed. And so we, Beth, the chief, Bellamy as well. We've been in meetings all summer trying to learn and how to navigate through this so we will understand it. And so it hasn't been an easy process for me either, but, you know, this is the hand that we have been dealt, so we have to do that. I would suggest, you know, you talk to your other board members and really share that this is something that has to be done. We will make sure this information is available for them to pick up. It's so much information that it's hard for us to email this. If you've been to a city council meeting, and the city council meetings are run very, very organized, it's the same thing. The mayor stood up and he gave the information. And then you take it home and you review it. We're not doing anything different than anybody else. You know, we're not trying to hide anything, or, you know, that's not what this is about. As I said earlier, I'm disappointed that our other board members are not here tonight, because this is very crucial, very. And so this information will be ready for them to pick up at the front desk, and hopefully September the 16th will be a meeting, a working meeting, that we will try to get some things done. Now, I am going to call downtown just to share tonight's meeting. That didn't happen. You know, that's my job. If I'm allowed, I will try to call a special meeting prior to September the 16th, so that those other board members, along with you, will be in, so we can get this going. But I will send out information prior to in enough timely manner, so that we'll figure out how we can make it happen. But as the trustee, I am, at the end of the day, I know we have a chair of the board, but I am the chair of this township government. And I am the one that calls the meetings. And hopefully our board members will abide by, you know, the protocol. I think that's what I see happening, protocol out of order. So we will get back with you, but I really appreciate you two board members being here this evening. Thank you. I think that's all I have, because we can't do anything else. Correct, Beth? All right, well, our next meeting is September the 16th, unless I call something before that. The good thing, this is all new. It's our first time. We didn't have any hiccups yet. And this will be uploaded to the website. It has to stay on the website for 6 months, I think it is. And we kind of rotate the meetings out. But again, I think this is good. This is all about transparency. And so you're able to see what the township government is, what your board members' duties are, and what they do. And you have this outlet to speak, which next month will be a great opportunity. And I'm just excited to see all the residents that live here in Pike Township. Thank you for coming out. And fire personnel that are here as well. So thank you. That's all I have. Meeting adjourned. Oh, yes, Susan.
Is the budget available to the public anywhere?
No, but next month for the public hearing, it will be published on Gateway for you to see.
Right.
And basically what it shows is the maximum levy, the circuit breakers, and then the budgets for each of the different departments, and then the current budget and the rates and everything. So we'll show that online, and then that'll be what we go over.
And you're not putting it out now because it could change?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we really just can't because it's before the public.
Before the public hearing. We had to advertise it as well, you know,
Yeah.
so many days ahead of time.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you for that question. That was a good question. Thank you. Thank you for being here.